Greetings and good evening, folks, and welcome back to MAEC, proudly brought to you by Events DC and Game Gen. Tonight is the kick-off stream for Overwatch 2, and it's going to be a class of the ages. My name is Gio. I'll be casting for you today alongside with Ra.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good evening. We're both casting from the UK, so a bit of a time difference. It's the early morning for us now, but nevertheless, we are extremely excited to kick things off. And to kick things off, we are going to just go through the weekly results from last week. Like you said, Overwatch stream, first week this week. And we're starting off with the Rocket League match results. And next, we're going to go through in just a moment to the standings. Everyone just get a quick look at that as we move over to Valorant and the standings with them as well. 2 pages for this one. They're all spread out a little bit. And League of Legends, last of all, with the results and then the standings as well there. So well done, everyone who obviously got the win. I'm sure the people on the big 0-1s at the moment will pick things up as we go along. So, Gio, how are you feeling? Week 1 for Overwatch is a very exciting time. Obviously, everything's kind of just changed about. What are your opinions on the changes between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2?
Honestly, overall, it just feels more vibrant and fun when the servers are working, that is, and everyone's in the game. Obviously, the big change to 5v5 has changed how we think about compositions, and a lot of those kind of hardcore roles, like in the support line of main support and flex support, they've been challenged a lot recently.
Yeah, they definitely have. Obviously, you've got a big difference with, not having the double barrier composition that you'd have, the Sigma Orisa. Obviously, Orisa being changed as well, no longer has a 3-second 1200 health shield. So it's lovely. I personally am a DPS player. I'm a big fan of not just smashing my head against shields for 90% of the game. So yeah, it's been pretty fantastic. So do you feel it's better with 5 then?
You know what? I am always going to openly admit, when I heard it was 5v5, I was like, that's a bad decision. But you know what? They have proven to me that it can be, a more fun environment. Without that off-tank, though, and without CC, the backlines have kind of been opened up, and who has taken the throne? Well, it's Genji has been unleashed, at least in my games. Maybe I'm just not good enough to deal with him, but Genji has been everywhere on Overwatch 2, and I'm sure a lot of Genji mains are very happy about it, but the support mains, not so much.
Well, I do think potentially Blizzard saw this coming, right? Because for anyone who has opened up Overwatch 2 and seen obviously the new Battle Pass system they have in place, who is at the end of the Battle Pass, right? They've got a new line of skins, specifically that only Genji has at the moment, right? A fully customizable skin. So I can imagine that they definitely foresaw that coming. But yeah, it does feel pretty fantastic. Obviously, we've got a couple new heroes in the mix as well. We have Junker Queen as tank. We've got Sojourn as DPS and Kiriko as support. I don't believe Kiriko is currently available to play in competitive just yet. But the other two are looking pretty fantastic. Obviously, Junker Queen with a massive area of effect anti. And we all know how good Ana was in Overwatch 1, right?
Yeah, you've seen it a lot if you're watching Overwatch League or Contenders before the nerf came in. It was Jolts, everybody. It was the return of Goats in 5v5 in the form of Junker Queen. Although the nerf has come in, kind of stabilized the meta a little bit. Some tanks, though, have kind of squeaked through, and without Kiriko, you're unlikely to see Roadhog. What I found is Roadhog's very good with Kiriko, because if you anti-Roadhog and it's cleansed immediately, well, there you go. It's immediately just nullified. So I don't think we'll see too much of Roadhog right now. As you say, Kiriko not available, but lots of Zaryas in play. And Sojourn, it's taken them this long to add a railgun? Really? Railgun is like one of the funnest types of guns in FPSs across the board. Sojourn, if in capable hands, is a deadly, deadly DPS, and I am excited to see if we see any Sojourn tonight.
Yeah, I hope we do. I'm a big fan of her ultimate ability. It's not super high impact if you have a low skill cap, but if you are one of the skilled players at her, having a 200 damage shot to the head every 1 second, it does do a fair amount. So let's just quickly go over the format for tonight. I'll take everyone through it. So we're doing a first to three, or better known as a best of 5. First map will be a control map, followed by an escort, push, hybrid, and then we go on repetition for the 5th. So back to a control. The team names for today: HCC Dragons and GMU, Howard Community College versus George Mason University.
Yeah, talking about Genji, the dragons coming out of the name. I wonder if we'll see any good dragons from them. But yeah, control, escort, push, hybrid. It's Overwatch 2. We've not even talked about it. Whole new mode in push, which has taken the place of the. Well, I say,
Wasn't it before? Yeah.
Yeah, 2CP was not beloved by the community, so Push has come in to take that place. I found it to be very back and forth, to be fair. So I really enjoyed that kind of, I guess, push and pull aspect of the game mode. But it really lends into those new gameplays of that kind of Genji getting around the back, not really needing to deal with an off tank or a Brigitte stun. In the back line, so it really unleashes those players who like to be a little bit cheeky in the back line and get those eliminations.
It definitely does. It's very momentum heavy as well. It feels like Overwatch 2, you could kind of stabilize with the double tank meta, right? If your DPS died, it wasn't the end of the world. But now it's all very pivotal. Each player seems to matter a hell of a lot more than what they did in Overwatch 1. And when you have, like you said, Genji, if he takes out a healer, it's a big difference. Now you don't have that extra health pool to kind of work with. Yeah, it all seems pretty fantastic. I'm very excited for the games tonight. I've casted one Overwatch 2 game the other day, and it was pretty fantastic. And Push was probably my favorite out of the lot. It's just a lot more excitement. It's a lot quicker paced.
Yeah, definitely. It's early days, so I've not had too much experience. Most of it was actually during the beta, where there was a few community tournaments put together. But what I found with Push, even in those matchups where it's a bit of a stomp, it's a bit of one-sided, even then, Push still kind of lends itself naturally into the back and forth, which I think is very well done. I will give the devs credit. Push is a fun game mode. It is well made, and only 3 maps though right now, which is helpful in learning them, but also kind of a lack of versatility, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there is definitely a learning curve, obviously, with every new game. And in the beta, I didn't personally play the beta. I was off of Overwatch at the time. But it does feel a lot better. But like you said, it is a learning curve. That is the important thing to realize, is that obviously every map has new strategies. We've seen many things over the years in Overwatch, from obviously like the Ghost comp and everything, which was just a whole different kettle of fish. And I'm sure as time progresses, we are very early days in the Overwatch 2 meta, that we will see some pretty crazy things. And I'm hoping to see some tonight. There are still some classics coming out. Like you said, you've got the Genji. I've seen a lot of Zarya Reaper, the classic. Anna Genji, still ridiculously strong. The Sleep Dart can't be underestimated. More targets to hit now without the shields and everything. So yeah, it's just so much to see, and I love watching games this early on, right? Because there's so much innovation. In a couple of months' time, we're probably going to see some more standardized comps. But for now, everyone's trying out new things. Everyone wants to play the champions, the heroes they actually enjoy playing, and they don't want to meta slave it necessarily.
Absolutely, it's the age of exploration in this mostly brand new game. The meta hasn't really chained people down as of yet. So, as you say, very experimental, which I like. Unfortunately for you Bastion mains, though, I don't think we'll be seeing any Bastion, as he's been yeeted from the game because of the orbital strike bug, which was surprisingly easy to actually do. So, no reworked Bastion tonight, unless they're feeling really crazy.
And I believe as well, to add to that, unless there is a specific caveat, that Torbjorn will also not be able to be played tonight. For anyone who doesn't know the Torbjorn bug, there was an easy to recreate bug where you could actually use his E twice and it would stack his shield twice. and that was absolutely fine. So both of those have currently been removed from competitive. Torb is still playable in quick play, so if anyone wants to try that bug out before it gets fixed, you can. But Bastion isn't even pickable as a character currently.
Yeah, so there's definitely some limitations in that way for sure. Which, you know, it's unfortunate because I did enjoy playing Bastion even before the bug. I didn't exploit it in comp, don't worry. I put the Petrox down. Yes, there's lots of reworks as well. Of course, Doomfist now is a tank. So for these teams that have been playing together for so long, or even players that were in that kind of flex DPS position, maybe played a lot of Doomfist, could even see them come out on tank. Doomfist not too meta right now, but you know, like you say, if the player's comfortable and good on them, then they can get the value.
Yeah, definitely, and especially we've put so much emphasis on Genji, so if we don't see any Genji tonight, we're going to be very sad. But Doomfist Genji is a fantastic combo. You got a lot of pressure on the backline once again. And with all of that being said, I think the players are just getting into the lobby now. So I think the best thing for us to do is throw it to a quick break while all the players just load into the game, and we'll be back in just a few moments to get the games underway. So join us in just one moment.
Hello and welcome back from that short break. It's now time to get into the game proper here between our two clashing teams. It is the Dragons of HCC up against George Mason University, who are on your left. And then we're going to be starting out on Ilios. What are you feeling about this?
Big fan of this map. Obviously, you've got some key contenders to look out for. Lucio is pretty common. We've got no knockbacks on the side of Dragons, so it's an interesting choice from there. They've gone for the Sigma as well. And we do have, of course, the Genji for George Mason University, so that's very exciting. Seeing some interesting compositional picks. Obviously, we got the Symmetra Lucio for George Mason, which, you know, pretty common. I don't know if they're just going to use the Symmetra to get out of base quicker, but yeah, it looks pretty even. I'm excited to see these comps play out.
Yeah, interesting to come out here with the Sigma. Gonna lean into a very kind of spam-oriented play from them. Up against this dive, though, they might just get collapsed upon. You see Matthew here looking for initial dive. Going to come in as Ebbings already finding Risaku. It's that Genji lethality there coming out in the storm, the melee final there, and Zappa as well on the back foot here. The Dragons need to reconvene here, but yeah, they're being torn apart on the exit. Nice quick win there for GMU.
Yeah, and a fantastic execution of the dive comp there, obviously. Winston, known for his oppressiveness onto squishy targets. You've got no way of dealing with that with the Sigma, and you've got the Tracer and Genji for support. So it gives safety to Ana and Lucian in the backline, just healing everyone up because there's so much pressure on the opposing team's Ana, and they still haven't swapped out, so they're pretty confident their composition is going to work as they go in for a second one here.
Oh yeah, and it's not worked out for them again. That Sojourn is the first pick again. Not going to work out for them. Here, oh, pardon me, Jackson there coming in, getting that final blow into the Ana, and Matthew cleaning up. Yeah, this composition not working out for them too well, even at the spawn.
Yeah, and Sojourn definitely doesn't seem to be very good. Into these dive comps, she has a fair amount of mobility, but it's all very one-directional. Something you'll realize is once she starts her dash, she can't stop it unless she jumps to cancel it, and that just leaves you out in the open against good players. You do end up getting caught out by this, so some compositional changes here. Tank has swapped over to Winston himself, but he's still getting run down. We've got the ultimates charging.
Yeah, very aggressive play here. Postman came out, didn't find anything, but it's the follow-up from this dive here that has found a nice clean win. They have lost Matthew, though, so they will need to be careful without tank for a moment, but this blade is ready from Ibbings.
Yeah, and still quite a bit to go on the Ana's nanotech, so we're not going to have the nano blade come out just yet, but I assume with the confidence that they have so far and the dominance in the early stages of this game, unless they get a push in here and recapture the point, I don't even know if they'll need it, but Genji's going to drop early.
Oh yeah, and that means you can't pull that blade out. That might be the win condition wiped off the board here. Matthew using that Primal Rage though to take out the opposing Ana, who's very close to Nano, is not going to be able to utilize that in this final fight here because it's 94%. There is no overtime available unless they touch here, and they're being torn apart outside of their spawn. That was a strong start from GMU.
Absolute domination on this first round of Control. Dragons, you know, looking a little shaken up at the moment. They're not looking fantastic. They're all just kind of a bit discoordinated. We're going to need to see some serious changes here. I saw the Brigitte hover for just a moment, but no, they're going to go for the Lucio Baptiste, and they've pulled out the Mei. This is something we spoke about before the stream started. A good counter to the Genji, slows them down. Also very good into Tracer, so this could potentially be the counter action that they need. But Dragons, yeah, looking very strong early on.
Yeah, definitely going to be a struggle here to come back, but on this different map, it does lean into a different type of play. And Tank here on the Reinhardt, looking to start this one out with a different play style. Actually working out. Ebbing's going to go down to the headshot there from the Cassidy of Face. And yeah, they can't really dive in too deep. You dive into a brawl like this, and you're just going to get hammered, and that's what Zappa just found out. Now just scrolling over to the point, getting that first cat, but they can't contest and farm up here.
Oh, and you know, with the Ana sat in such a safe position, it's really difficult for them to get in, and you know, the Dragons started to take control of this. The Reinhardt's a fantastic pickup when you got multiple members want to dive into you. So have to see if it keeps playing out, if they're going to swap anyone out here. But GMU on the back foot.
Yep, but right now, controlling this point. Staying on the point does mean Winston gets less opportunities to dive in. It is going to make them a fish in a barrel if they're not careful, though. As you see, hovering over Jackson with this pulse bomb. Could be ready soon, but getting chased down with the hammer. Ibix gets out, actually finding that May, no more counter on the board, and without the pulse bomb, Jackson finding the value there. That's a great fight win there for GMU.
Absolutely fantastic. No ultimates committed in that fight either. I mean, they're going to be very comfortable. Nano is about to come up. Ibix about 20% off of the blade as well. So we're going to have the combo. We've got the Baptiste window and the Reinhardt Shatter coming up for the side of the Dragons as well. So we're looking pretty equal on the spread. It all depends on what they can find here.
Oh, the stealth game on point there for Ibix. Didn't quite get the assassin they were looking for. Pulse bomb though coming out onto face. That's going to be an early loss there. But the shatter might turn it around. It's big. Ibix was so close to blade as well. That could have turned it around. But with this window on the point, they're looking to consolidate, especially if Jackson gone, nothing to contest. They will get that point over, and it's in Yatta gonna get cleaned up.
Goes onto the Tracer just to try and keep the momentum going, but it doesn't work out. It's a big ultimate wasted, especially with Ibix now having the blade up. It's going to be a very dry Genji blade if he decides to use it anytime soon. Lucio gets to drop down onto the point here, but can they actually make anything happen? Deanna's just healing everybody. She's got such a great position at the moment. And yeah, Dragons are all over this point, balling up, playing a very secure composition, having the May as well for pick potential. And here we go, another fight's breaking out.
Oh, it's massive from Ibix. It's a triple with the blade. A follow-up from Matthew going half and half there with the eliminations. Very swift fight win for them now, as they're going to be standing here with a good defensive ultimate in the Transcendence. Matthew also to this Primal.
And if they're not careful, they're going to have to be very aware of this Transcendence not to burn it early. There is a May ultimate available as well. We all know how strong that can be. As Tracer almost gets the McCree, and another fight's going to break out as the May ult goes down.
Yeah, Blizzard on the board here, looking to freeze them up. Not quite get the value that they wanted. Pulse Bomb finds the immortality, and Rizaku is into the drink there with a nice Primal Rage from Matthew, getting themselves to those final percentages now, as we're starting to think about, you know, can this recontest work out with these ultimates that they have built.
And we've got the Shatter almost available again. It's very difficult to get value as tank, though. A lot of mobility from the sides of GMU, and it's all, can they get on this point? They are going to be able to make it to the point, but it's all about whether the Reinhardt can stick himself on there long enough, as he is discorded. It looks like another fight's about to break out.
Yeah, that Nano Monkey just lasered down the rest of the team as they're trying to get through that small area. The Shadow's going to come out, but right into a Transcendence. It's pretty much all that she wrote here for this final point. No overtime available, and that's going to be 2-0 here in Ilios.
Yeah, and that is the first map of the best of 5 going to GMU. Here comes the player of the game, as expected. It is Matthew on Winston. An absolute fantastic showing from him. Can't actually give you an answer what the player of the game was going to be, but look at these knockbacks, one after another, showing that he's practiced Winston a lot. Great control to keep himself within that small, compact area and just knock everyone backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. A fantastic start from GMU. Matthew with a very deserved player of the game, showing the dive composition on full effect.
Yeah.
How are HCC going to come back from that?
You know, it's going to be tough. You know, dive, as we talked about, very prevalent right now, especially if that Genji. But I feel like we didn't talk about him enough. Winston is getting a lot of value right now. And then in capable hands like Matthew, who has really stood out to me as a standout tank player, as the way that they've played Winston has been very, you know, choosing your opportunities correctly, you know, following up on them, very precise, especially if those primal rages, you know, you need to practice those juggles. And right now, they're a bit of a juggle god, you could say.
Yeah, no, he absolutely smashed it. I'm seeing some comments in the chat as well. We do love an uncontested high ground Anna. That is something that happened throughout that game. And yeah, I mean, HCC have got to turn something around, right? I would like to see the Reaper come out. The Reaper was always a classic counter to the Winston. Stops him getting in your face because you do heal more than he does, and you obviously have more damage as well. So it'll be good to see some theory crafting here from HCC trying to pull things back. Hopefully, we will see a revival because I don't want the games to be done and dusted too quickly. I'd like to see it be quite exciting. I always love a good best of 5, especially when it goes to the 5th.
Yes, of course, now it is the choice of the losers. And when we're going to Escort next, you're thinking, okay, how do we tackle this? GMU seem to be quite dive heavy. So if I were on the side of the Dragons, I'd be thinking, how could we play into dive ourselves? Try and utilize our own dive? Or how do we counter it, like you said, with that, Reaper is a strong pick right now.
Yeah, and other picks as well. If they are looking to dive your backline, you've got Bridget, and you have Moira, right? 2 fantastic picks, very anti-dive. Moira is extremely safe and a fantastic main healer. And then, yeah, there's plenty of options out there. It's all about just finding what works. It's all about finding what is comfortable for your players, right? Because you don't want to be putting someone on someone that hasn't played it before.
Yeah. Right now, GMU kind of using the maps like their own jungle gym, going crazy with these dives. You'll give credit as well to the support lineup. They were, maybe a little bit uncontested there on Lighthouse, but they used that space to really support I guess you could say in this analogy, they're the kids going into the jungle gym and enjoying themselves and just being unleashed upon the playground that is Overwatch 2.
But yeah, we'll have to see exactly what happens in just a moment. So as the players just sort out the picks for second map, we're going to throw it over to a quick break while they get ready and see you guys back here in just a moment.
welcome back and to Junkertown as we roll over to Escort now and we see what these teams are made of here. It's an interesting choice. I believe it's loser's pick. So the Dragons have chosen Junkertown as their map of choice, and they're going to be coming out with the a D.Va defense.
So we love a bit of D.Va. We were talking about that before as well. Obviously, one of my favorite interactions that I found out about literally today was D.Va being able to eat Bastion out of the sky, but we're not going to be able to see any Bastion, unfortunately. But I like the up here, you know. I like the Ana Zen. It's a good combination. You do force Ana to play more healing than utility, though, which is always quite interesting because, you know, a lot of Ana players like to sit back, not heal as much, but rely more on these antis and the sleep darts, which are very impactful. On the other side, we have the Sigma, and we've got a Widow early on, so if we can find an early pick coming out here, it could gain them a lot of distance.
Yeah, that's what they're betting on here as they look out. In fact, that was a cross-map sleep. Chipmunk was already sleeping.
That. So that good little pickup here, but yeah, Widow not finding any early pressure, and the Sojourn not looking great, but yeah, a little 1-for-1 there. We love that.
1-for-1 there. The dive not working out to their pleasure here. In fact, yet the spam composition that the Dragons have here, even with this tank substitution coming in, it's now Rosanto playing the Sigma here. Very aggressive positioning.
Yeah, and a great start this time in comparison to last game. Obviously, Matthew not able to take over just yet. We maybe going to see them switch up the composition a little bit, but there's some good ground being made up so far.
Oh, and Ibix going to go down again early. This is not like the Ibix that we saw on Ilios going down first every fight. Yeah, Matthew as well, the mech being taken out. Junkertown so far going in the direction of the Dragons, although it has been a little bit back and forth. Jackson here pretty much uncontested on high ground, almost a headshot, and there's the follow-up there by Risaku. This Widowmaker pick has started to work out a little bit there.
Yeah, and the Dragons looking significantly more confident on Junkertown. It's got an interesting one, obviously. It's got a lot of places for Widow to actually work, a lot of elevated ground, so it's interesting to see that they are more comfortable on this map using elevation to their advantage, as D.Va almost getting caught out again.
Yeah, the D.Va pick has not worked out as well as the Winston for Matthew here, who's on this off angle, just checking this angle, but Chipmilk is going to find Ibix again. Ibix really struggling for this Genji. Might need to consider switching. Of course, you do keep up to 30% of your ultimate, so it's a little easier to switch in Overwatch 2.
Yeah, and they're not able to, you know, give Genji any support. The Winston is fantastic dive. It provides Genji with a potential shield as well if they dive the same target. But another big fight breaking out here.
Ooh, yeah, and Chipmunk going to go down, was a little aggressive on the point there. This Flux coming out from Rosanto, trying to turn it around, but the wave of eliminations already coming out for the defense as they finally hold themselves strong in a fight and take position on the defense.
We're going to have the Nanoblade coming up for GMU in just a moment, so that's going to give them a fantastic opportunity to hold the swap onto the Hanzo here. I'm not sure how fantastically that's going to work out, as Genji has a fantastic flank here. This could be absolutely massive.
Yeah, stealth mode activated, but was scouted out, almost got rocked, needs to back up, still playing in this forward position, looking for the Dragon Blade. Here it comes, slicing through them, cleaving through them. It is a 5k for Ibix.
Oh,
outstanding stuff.
Goodness, and Ibix, he's not happy with Matthew. He wants to play the game for himself. That was absolutely fantastic. The coordination, the dash up into the dash reset with the Nanoblade being activated. And a fantastic pickup there, but he does get over-aggressive.
Not to laugh, but yeah, maybe a little too over-aggressive, overzealous, you could say, after that Dragon Blade, maybe feeling himself a bit too much. Now the attacking team coming out with a storm. They are up 5-4. Ooh, Transcendence used! Maybe to try and get this push out, has brought out the Transcendence from Zapap, though, as GMU continue to try and defend this one. Zapap finding Rasic. Things are turning around, yeah. They've completely left them uncontested on this high ground, and the defense can just sit there and poke you apart, really.
GMU seems fantastic at reading the side of Dragons, able to adapt on the fly. Just a minute ago, we were talking about how the Dragons like to use elevation to their advantage, and GMU have now claimed the high ground. Using the Diva to better effect, still has the Diva ultimate available as well, and that's something to watch out for when you don't have a reliable shield. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether they can make anything happen. They're trying to regain some ground here, but they're nowhere near the point yet.
Yeah, they're struggling on the entry here. They're being careful with him. Maybe waiting for a pick here from Bracek. But that, off angle there from Zappat. Almost gets the value. Oh, Zappat though. Gonna go quite low and farm. Of course, the supports now have auto heal. You see, Racing just waiting.
Yeah, and can FaZe find an angle for this high noon? It's going to be so important. He gets taken down instantly by Jackson.
Yeah, face to face with Death there. Now needs to back up a little bit here on the attack. Actually going for it, trying to get this flux, but great movement there from Matthew. Actually avoids it. Dragon coming in with the rest of the team as well. Not going to get too much value. I think maybe a little bit misplaced. Jackson still able to get that space, utilizing it to take out the Ana. That Ana healing now gone for the attacking team of Dragons here. It's going to be rough, especially losing their tank. And again, the defense, they seem to be holding it down on second.
Oh yeah, they are really committing for it, using a lot of ultimates there. The Diva ultimate, the nanotech as well. So not going to have the Genji blade, and a great deflect there by Ivix. Oh my goodness, that is a skill check and a half. And they're going to have one push remaining, the Dragons. They need to get this point round to the next mark. And you just need to find an angle in. They swap to the Diva themselves, give themselves lots of room to work, potentially create some more space. And here we go with the push.
Yeah, the high noon coming out, of course, needs to avoid this deflect from Ibbings. Has created space. Not quite utilizing it, though, as they kind of push forward onto the low ground. Ibbings, you see, waiting. Got this blade. Is going to pull it out right onto the Zenyatta. Does not have the Transcendent. Now taking face out of it. Ibbings is an absolute monster with the blade, and now there is a bit of a stall.
Yeah, and they're just going to have to sprint it down to the point. We got Ivix' first point of contact here. Try not to let anyone through. Lucio being a slippery boy, but Anfom takes him out at the last moment. And I don't even know if they'll manage to get anyone else there. As now they try and get to the payload. They do hit a moment of overtime, but it might not be enough. It's a fantastic dash. Ivix has been the one to really carry this team to victory in the first half.
Yeah, slow start for Ibbix there on the first point defense. Was the first elimination in a few fights in a row there, but really brought it back. Got that consistency with the play of the Genji, and really popped off, even getting, of course, that coveted 5k there with the blade at one point. So very nicely done from Ibbix. A little bit of struggle we saw there from GMU. They are not invulnerable, is what we've seen. But a very solid defense gives them a very good win condition moving forward on their own attack.
It's going to allow the side of GMU to play this round a little more slowly without having the pressure of having to capture multiple points. You have a lot more time to work with, but you still can't get overconfident. You see both teams picking up the Widow, and this could be detrimental for the side of GMU or Dragons, depending on who gets picked off first, right? Because the Widow v Widow matchup is very difficult to regain momentum because you don't have the same consistent damage as you have with regular DPS.
Yeah, definitely. And depending where Rosanto does place the shield, if utilizing it, Reisaku can get that extra survivability by shooting from behind it. Now, of course, what would be a double shield scenario is now a Sigma scenario in Overwatch 2.
Indeed, and we do see Matthew once again on this Winston, potentially looking to pick up the play of the game for a second game in a row. But yeah, they're looking for the dive again. GMU looking to be very confident moving forward. Obviously have Winston with the long range shots from the laser as well. Now he's taken some heavy fire. This is big ultimate charge early on. The Genji causing havoc in the backline. Jackson takes the Rasaku.
Jackson with the entry, Ibbix following up as well as Matthew. They were waiting for that initial pick, and that's what they're following up with. And now, yeah, just accepting defeat there in that fight. Chipmilk just walks towards them.
Gracious me, and that, I said, the second Jackson got rid of Reisaku, sorry, on the Widow. They lost all momentum, they have no pressure, and it just allowed that entire dive comp to go forward as one big ball. And they're going to look to retake on this point before it reaches. But Jackson just takes it down again. It's getting personal.
It's it's incredible here from Jackson immediately finding that first pick again. It's exactly what you want to see from GMU's composition. It's what they're waiting for. Ebbings with that double dash and just felling that a kill feed yet again. Jackson and Ebbings really just controlling this first point.
And they've got 5 minutes to push the payload, basically 70 meters, and it's absolutely brutal here as the Widow's just got such good control, hitting shots left, right, and center. Takes down the Lucio. Maximum Goose, you have got to watch your head, buddy, because it's going to keep happening. I think he sees the Tracer here, but we've got the Genji with the blade already, and the Nano is only 5% off, and I'm sure we're going to see one big team fight here in just a moment to get things going. But a little swap onto the Reinhardt to potentially create some more space, and here we go on the point.
Yeah, pulling out the Dragon Blade now, going for it, but the reverse, they actually switched to a brawl here, and that's actually helped them sustain this fight. Rusaku is going to go down, but this fight is already here for the defense. Matthew trying to do wonders with a Primal Rage, is trying to keep things alive for the team, but there's not a whole lot of follow-up. This brawl switch has been quite well picked here. In fact, the Coalescence coming out from Chip Milk is going to sustain the team even more, but Jackson finding Chip Milk, it's a long fight, but it's now starting to go the way of the attacking team.
Yeah, and don't know if you saw a little bit of a misplay there from Anform from GMU, nanoing the wrong target there as Genji ulted. I believe Matthew walked in front of the Q, which obviously everyone knows as an Ana player that's very painful when you have a teammate walk in front of that targeting ability. And a big stick there onto Jackson is going to create some space for the Dragons.
Yeah, that's going to open it up for the defending team to really secure this point here in this fight. The Shatter as well coming up. Unnecessary maybe, but definitely found the value nonetheless as they're going to push forward here even onto the first point. Try and follow up onto those supports. They need to be careful that they're not too overzealous.
The Dragons do know that if they potentially get team wiped here, and it has happened to them already in this best of 5, that it could be the end. The payload doesn't have very far left to travel, about 30 meters. And that's it. So one team wipe could finish it off completely. They have to recommit ults over and over again. It's a fantastic deflection from Immings there, getting the headshot with the Rhine E. And it's just brutal. This should give them an opportunity to push. Obviously, Tracer can get back relatively quickly. And here we go with a Winston.
Oh, that is a perfect dive there from Matthew. The Goose has been cooked, and I don't think they'll even need to pull this Nano Blade out that they've built if they can swing it by fast enough. You will try and touch with Face. Face is there ready in the corner looking to get this touch, but not much that they're going to be able to do as this blade is ready. So the Nano, not quite, but you don't really need it. It's a bit of a stall fight. There's a Nano at the end to take Face out, and you see that is all that she wrote for Junkertown.
That is GMU. Fantastic momentum, keeping it going. And as we come to the play of the game, it's an obvious choice for this one. Immings with a 5k. You see a beautiful start here as he's just ready to jump up to the point, pulls out a Nano Blade, gets the reset on the left shift, and it's just absolute brutality. It is a meat grinder up in there, a complete ace, runs back to the point just for good measure, and that was absolutely brutal from GMU.
Clean Genji gameplay. This ain't just some schmuck that they've picked up from the side of the road to play Genji. Epics is an absolute machine on the hero and really turned it around on that second point for the side of GMU, who are now 2-0 up in this best of 5. So they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, and a fantastic start from GMU, right? It's just great momentum. They're able to keep things going. I have to give them credit as well. When the Dragons got the advantage early on into Junkertown, it was very obvious that they had a game plan, and GMU read that and adapted, picked more versatile heroes that could traverse multiple levels of terrain, picking up the Widow, allowing them to create space. It was just a fantastic game plan overall. The Dragons definitely showing that they're not going to give up. They still have a lot of fight left in them. We saw some fantastic plays, but it just seems that once GMU gets rolling, it's very difficult to stop them.
Yeah, we did see that they're not completely invulnerable. They faltered there on the first point of their defense, did GMU, but they did get it back together and held in very strong on the second. But as soon as Matthew switched to the Winston, and you had Jackson on the Widow as well for the openers, it was all that they could do other than just roll through any opposition, because right now they're really on form. They're really working together, apart from one Nano getting interrupted by silly Matthew and jumping in the way.
Yeah, how dare he try and still play the game after Ivings had such a fantastic meat blender. But yeah, with that being said, we are going to get into the third game of our best of 5. This is going to be a push map this time, which is obviously the new game mode. Very exciting to see the little robot run backwards and forwards. So let's throw it to a quick break for just a moment, and we'll be back when the game starts.
Hello and welcome back to MAEC, brought proudly by Events DC and Game Gym. We're now on to push as we go to some Rome gameplay here as we go to Calesio. Whoa, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, so am I. This is obviously the most momentum-based map. Theoretically, this game could end in, just under 2 minutes. If one team really gets the ball rolling, it is possible, because there's no cutoff for how quickly this game mode can end. It's just all about getting the robot to one side. And let's have a look at the composition from GMU this time. So obviously being 2-0 up, potentially looking to be able to play with the side of the Dragons a little bit. They've gone for a more traditional composition, all heroes that we've seen before. Zarya with both the Genji and Reaper, very classic combinations. Fantastic use of bubble with the ults, basically makes them CC immune. And then we've got Lucio, which is a staple on any push game because of the momentum-based game mode that it is. And on the side of the Dragons, we have Genji and Tracer with a Winston by the side. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out. As everyone starts to dive in, Ibinx is getting a little aggressive early on here.
Yeah, very aggressive. Does actually push them back. Not too overzealous, but Jackson is going to get taken out by Tank now, as the side of Dragons are going to be a little bit more aggressive. But that's an outstanding anti-nade there from the Ana of Anform. Now the push now.
Everyone dropping off, but it flies one by one. It looked like such a good start picking off Jackson. But Ibinx once again, with the combination of Anform doing fantastic work. We're seeing 65% already as Ibinx wins the Genji 1v1, taking down Ana as well. And now Tracer is looking worse for wear. Going to dash back out after a fantastic hack and slash as Matthew getting toggling as well. And all in all, they're just getting absolutely rolling. This is what I spoke to you about, the momentum-based gameplay. Look
they're pushed all the way back to their spawn right now, and it's looking real tough for the Dragons. They really need to get together and find a regrouping here. Ibinx is airing very close to this blade with the Nano coming out from Anform very soon. It's not looking too hot for the Dragons, but they've not yet got that checkpoint.
Once they get the checkpoint, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't played Push before, you do get increased respawns, which means you will be spawning much closer to the point as the Nano goes down on Zarya early.
Yeah, Matthew now with that nanoed beam just going to be melting the opposition, and Ibinx with that follow-up. And there is the checkpoint. They've got that forward spawn. Still got this Grav and Blade. This could be the most one-sided push map that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's only 2 minutes in, and the side of GMU have already reached this checkpoint. It's looking absolutely brutal. Can the Reinhardt make a difference as the Genji Blade comes out?
Oh, Ibinx going right for the opposing Genji, trying to cement themselves the top dog, but it's only not going to do too much there. Actually going to be Matthew who uses that space to follow up onto Goose, but faced with a nice pulse bomb in the back, has found Anform. This can switch it around here for the side of Dragons as they continue to fight deep for it, but there's the Graviton Surge!
And it's just looking absolutely brutal. They can't get a moment of rest. Face doing a fantastic job at the start of that fight, getting on the backline himself with so much aggression coming from Ibinx, Jackson, Matthew, just leaving Anform and Zappa in the back to push the payload. And here we go, another big push, trying to get anything back.
Ooh, it's a nice shadow though, going to turn it around, getting that nice double onto Jackson and Matthew, now finally pushing the robots in their preferred direction. They are going to be up against a fight very soon though, as you know, they still got those forward spawns for the opposing side in GMU as they look to push forward.
And it looks like the Dragons are going to finally get some distance on their side. Not much, 95 meters to contest with as a big start already.
Yeah, they've already traded some of this DPS, but Matthew on the back foot here. The Nano onto Tank is going to allow them to push forward. The Blossom, though, in the back has completely torn apart Maximum Goose. No more Ana healing there for the side of HCC as they push forward, still going strong despite that loss. But yeah, the fight is going to start again very early.
Yeah, we're seeing these forward spawns really paying some dividends here, but it didn't do enough as the side of the Dragons finally getting to gain some good space. 20 meters on the board and up and coming, but can Ibinx make a difference? We almost have the Genji Blade ready once again with the Nano, a classic combo. It's been going off time and time again, but here we go. The Dragons are committing to another big fight.
Oh, it's a big boop onto the face of the DPS there. Now Matthew going to actually find Maximum Goose. And it is an absolute slobber knocker of a fight right now. Reisaku actually deflecting Jackson's own right click there into their himself, and now pushing forward here with control. Matthew close to the shatter as this fight does continue. Face maybe looking for a pulse bomb here to try and turn it back into his side.
Does the pulse bomb actually stick? No, it doesn't manage to connect, so that's a big ultimate down, single target. Ibinx does manage to take down the opposing Genji, and here it comes once again.
Oh, the shatter though from against the bigs, it's going to take them out. That was a nice counter there, but the Reinhardt still pushing. It is the anti-nade that is going to cause some issue there for Tank, but now going to charge right back into the fight. Oh, this is so back and forth. Huge charge into maximum Goose Matthew getting that huge value.
Yeah, and we do see a lot of commitment there. Obviously, Shatter used, Blade used, and does that mean we're going to get a turnaround from the Dragons? We do now have the Genji Blade available for Razoku, and a good deflection there, just charging up once again. But can they make anything happen? They have a lot of ground to make up, over halfway through this game mode now as the robot continues to push, and here comes the Genji Blade.
Yeah, going right for it. The deflection, though, from Ibix is going to block some of those slashes there. And Matthew's just going to swing that hammer and take them out. Not going to get anything done with that Dragon Blade, as the Dragons are going to just take control anyway. I think maybe space creating Dragon Blade, you could say.
Yeah, definitely. And it did end up winning them the fight. Obviously, whenever you hear that Genji ultimate being used, it does send your team into a bit of discourse. It allows for you to create space for the rest of your team. Matthew, though, did manage to pick up some good ultimate charge on the back end of that fight, so we're looking at a 95% shatter right now, as I'm expecting a big ultimate to fire off in just a moment.
Yeah, the Shield of Tank taking a lot of damage, especially against Jackson's overcharge here, as they're going to push forward with this extra damage. The Shadow comes out, actually sneaks past. It's a bit of the MTD there. Matthew now with the Nano going to be pushing in into the back if they can, though, getting booped about by toggling. Very nicely done by the Lucio there. Matthew is going to find Gusto. The turnaround shatter. Can it be enough to get this fight in the way of the Dragons? They are actually going to use the beat as well from toggling as they're pushing back the backline. They have got the control of the robot for now.
And just as the fight looked absolutely doomed, a fantastic re-engage there by Tank, followed up with the beat just for good measure, making sure that Sojourn couldn't pick up the back end of those kills. And while it hasn't gotten them great distance, it has stopped the side of GMU pushing any further, and this could be turnaround that they need. 2 minutes 50 left on the clock and 70 meters to make up. Can they actually get back into it? As we see the Cassidy name change has got his high noon available, and a good pickup here with no deflection could be absolutely brutal.
Yeah, looking for it. Tank on low health. The Immortality Field actually has come out here from the Dragons. They don't have that utilization anymore to keep Tank up against this high beam charge of Matthew, who's walking forward with so much damage. Tank going down. Risaku is going to be the first victim of Matthew and their beam face as well. Matthew just tearing them apart, microwaving them completely, and pushing them back here, and they still have this blade.
Yeah, and the 90% charge on the Zarya, absolutely brutal. She will just run you down one at a time. She is better than any DPS when you give her full charge. And when you're expecting to play into a Ryan and they suddenly swap on you like that, you're not conditioned to not shoot the Zarya bubbles as much, and it's giving them so much free charge and great momentum here. And here comes the Genji Blade, I assume, with a bubble.
Can they get the same value that we saw on Junkertown? It's going to take the Immortality Field down now as well. The backline completely torn up. The dashes. Ibix is an absolute monster.
And that's such a fantastic switch in from there. Having the Zarya bubble on top of the Nano Blade is just so brutal. There's no wiggle room whatsoever for the Dragons. And we've just got 1 minute left, and this is basically going to be make or break right now for the side of the Dragons.
Oh, a nice Graviton Surge onto the front line. That shield is going to take the brunt of the damage, though, but the follow-up is what they were looking for with Jackson taking Tank out of it. Matthew as well, still at that high charge, and that beat's pretty much going to cement it here for GMU in this fight. It's the final push here to the end of the map. You see Toggling just trying to keep it alive for as long as they can.
And it's just looking to be absolutely brutal. GMU have found their stride once again, and we said when they find it, a shatter comes through with a Genji Blade. Is it enough to actually do anything? No, Genji gets taken down. It's so brutal on the back end of this now.
Anform dealt with that so well here, this final fight. You even got a Pharah on play here by FaZe. We'll take Jackson down, but can anyone else touch? You do have A Tracer coming in for the final touch, trying to keep it alive. Still 30 seconds. If they're capable of bringing this back, this would be huge, but it's an absolute stagger fight right now. Even seeing that Hammond pick come out, Anform is the one that takes down the Tracer there. It's a bit of a back and forth here, and Face is allowed to get some value in the sky, but Matthew is at that high charge, gets the nano, cleans it up. Still needing to deal with toggling here on the Lucio. That grappling surge is going to finish it up as we hit into overtime. Now it's do or die, but it will be GMU finishing it nicely with a clean 3-0.
Yeah, fantastic gameplay all around from both teams there, but a massive congratulations as we go into the play of the game. And what a surprise! We all know what this one is. Not quite the meat grinder that it was in the second game, but another fantastic play. You can see the control here as he takes down the lamp first, able to wait it out for just a moment, meaning that he gets the nice dash reset, and a clean team ace from the side of GMU.
Yeah, it's nasty what Ebbings is capable of when they get that space, and even with the immortality field, there was really nothing to be done. A very nice performance from GMU. They're looking very strong here in this matchup and going forward. I think Dive definitely looks good on them, but even at the end there, Matthew switching onto that Zarya is getting peak value.
Yeah, peak value. You saw at some points 90, probably had 100 charge at the start of the fight. Absolute brutality. Everyone knows how strong Zarya gets. And it's good to see how much flexibility they had. Obviously, we only really saw Ibbings on the Genji and we saw the Ana. But, you know, what you can play flexibly, if it's working, why change it? Why reveal your strategies when you could bring them out when you need them, right? So, fantastic all-around gameplay from the side of GMU, but Dragons, definitely keep your heads held high. It's fantastic to watch you play as well. We'll have to see how you progress throughout the weeks. There will be some teams you'll do exactly the same thing to. Some teams just do synergize well against other teams. So no hard feelings, hopefully. Week 1 looked absolutely fantastic, and both teams are teams to watch at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, we saw from the Dragons that they were playing with 2 different tank players. A lot of teams are going to be like that, where of course tanks, you were used to main tank and off tank playing select areas of the role. Now you're expected to play the entire role, the entire category, and some players, they're not quite capable of that at the highest level, because to be at that highest level you'd be very, very good at those heroes. But GMU, they were very good at keeping their compositions within the strength of that solo tank player. And I do think the coordination is a little easier when it is just one tank you're dealing with, so that could maybe clue into one of the reasons why GMU maybe looked so strong.
Yeah, that is definitely correct. And we are just going to hand over in just a short second to Ibbings for a quick interview with one of our other people that we have.
Yeah, with Cherish,
tonight.
yes.
And here they come in. We're going to ask them a few questions. Obviously, I'm sure the player of the game is going to get mentioned. So whenever they are ready, they'll be taking that away. It seems like they're here. So I'll pass it over to them for just a moment. I hope you guys enjoy.
Well, I believe I'm just a face tonight, or rather just a voice instead of a face. But I am Cherish. Joined with me is Binks from the successful George Mason side. So congrats on the win, first of all, and how are you feeling after that?
Feeling pretty good. There was a lot of anxiety going into this game. It was a new game. We all kind of lost the passion for Overwatch 1 for a second, so we hadn't been swimming as much, but we grind out like the last week, and I'm pretty happy with our performance. Yeah, it's a relief more than anything.
Yeah, you guys surely didn't seem, you know, as if in saying you guys were stressed, you didn't really show it. You guys didn't lose a single point in that game, so fantastic work from you guys. But you know, in losing that patch, like you said, the big changes in between Overwatch 1 and 2. How do you feel you're adjusting to the meta and feeling how you know, just how do you feel about the game in general?
So fights happen much faster now, and it's much harder to control flanks. With the you no longer have an off tank, which basically means you no longer have a diva because diva was just the Swiss Army knife of off tanks. But that allows characters like Genji to exist way more than they'd usually be allowed to exist. The backline is much squishier. Fights happen much faster because either the backline dies or the front line dies, and then it just steamrolls from there. So we are trying to lean into comps that play as fast as Overwatch 2 is. We run Zarya comps because bubbles on like Reaper or Genji let them get in and do crazy stuff. Diva is surprising, like does insane damage and has a DM is still just as useful. So we are basically just playing around those two tanks when we can. And in certain instances, we whip out like the Rhine and stuff way more of a traditional game if we're a little bit caught off because we haven't really scrimmed everything yet, so we don't know what exactly is good. But yeah, that's generally our plan. Play fast, play hard.
Yeah, you guys did play real fast and real hard tonight. On that note again, you didn't give up a single point defense, or rather you didn't give up a single point. You did not let them pass 25 meters on the push on your defensive side. So, in this, like you've been mentioning, this low scrim environment that you guys have had to deal with so far, getting used to Overwatch 2 with not a lot of practice. How did you feel going into that push game being so dominant?
So we were, I'll be honest, we weren't totally confident the entirety of the push game. Like we were like, yeah, no, we were confident enough to win, but from what we've seen, push usually goes one way or another. But it's very easy if we lost 2 fights back to back, we probably would have lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we did lose fights. I particularly overextended. I keep seeing kills and wanted to go deep into the backline to get them, and then I die and I get punished for it. But yeah, no, it's the kind of thing that it's all about momentum in that game mode. And if you're at a stalemate, if you already have a lead, you're at an advantage. But since we got that early lead, we're able to play a lot more relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to hear. So, last question for you, honestly, is just for you. Any shout outs you have, or really anyone you'd like to thank for this one?
For this one, I definitely just have to talk about my team and the program at GMU, honestly, for making this happen. We are actually all in the same room. You guys want to give us a shout, guys? Let's go.
Very, very faintly coming in.
Yeah,
like that.
our mics have to be like that so we don't overlap a bunch. But yeah, no, we're all sitting next to each other, calming, playing, and it's a blast, and it's fun to work and improve with these guys, and they're all putting in their all. So yeah.
That's good to hear, man. Well, once again, I've been Cherish, and joining me tonight was Binks from the successful GMU side. Seemed like 3 maps, 3 play of the games from you, so congrats on your win yet again.
No. Don't forget about the Matthew play of the game. Come on, that
is true.
Insane, dude.
That is true. Matthew did have his pop-off moments as well. I don't want to really take away that that glory from him, but once again, man, thank you for joining us, and have a good night.
You too, man. See ya.
And yeah, a great interview there with Genji connoisseur Ibix. Very humble as well, and admitting sometimes they did overextend. And it's nice to hear the team camaraderie as well.
I don't think Ebinks is a true DPS player because DPS don't overextend. It's always the support's fault, isn't it?
It is.
So, yeah, I don't really. I'm very, very humble. I respect it. Very appreciative of his team, and good sports all round. So it's good to hear that everyone is enjoying it as much as we enjoyed watching. Any final words at all, Gio?
Yeah, while yes, it was maybe a one-sided affair today, both sides showed some great capabilities here in Overwatch 2, and we're still in the early stages of this whole new setup. Got to get used to 5v5, got to get used to push. There's a lot of stuff to get used to. So some teams might still be, working at that up, getting that steam train on the go, not quite at their full momentum yet. So this has been a great start, though, and I'm very excited to see what happens going forward in MEEC, brought to you by Events DC and Game Gym.
Yeah, and a fantastic start of what's going to be a fantastic season by the looks of it. Like they said, all the teams looking forward to improving together. And that's exactly what we like to hear, right? Overwatch 2 bringing a new community together once again after,
Yes.
as Iving said, they lost the passion for Overwatch 1, and I think a lot of us did. So it's fantastic to be back, and I can't wait to cast again.
Absolutely. And yeah, that will be all for tonight, folks. Thank you guys for all watching. Thank you to teams for supplying us with such great content. Thank you, Ra, for joining me. I've been Gio,
My
and
pleasure.
don't forget to laugh loud and love yourself. Good night, folks.